I've honestly never been 100% convinced that Tfue is the best player in the world, or even the best player on FaZe. Sure, there have definitely been times where I was like, yeah, Tfue's the best player in the world, specifically during his fall skirmish run, where he took home $75,000 by getting back-to-back first place solo wins. This was probably the most dominant solos run of all time by any player, and is what bolsters him to the highest earning player in all of Fortnite. There's no doubt that Tfue is one of the best, but I can't help to consider his duo partner Cloakzy as also possibly the best. In this video, I'm going to break down the differences between Tfue and Cloakzy's careers, and at the end, I will finally explain why Cloakzy is better than Tfue and why Tfue knows it. I will dive into the statistics of overall performances and total earnings in these tournaments, then we will take a look at more fundamental stuff like aiming, building, decision making, and clutchness. Then hopefully after we will be able to come up with an answer. Who is better? Now, before we get into this, I'm sure a lot of you already have your mind 100% set on who you think is the best. I want you guys to just try to be a little open-minded about this discussion. The main purpose of this video is to spread information on two of the best players in the entire world. And now, one last thing, guys, if you're excited for this video, if you do enjoy my content, be sure to hit that like button. Every single like helps my channel tremendously. If you want to support me, slap that like button. And now let's jump right into it. After researching their tournament history, I figured the best way to measure them is by comparing their performances in the summer and fall skirmishes. The reason I'm deciding just to stick to these two events and not others like Friday Fortnite, because these are the most relevant tournaments. They're the most recent ones, they're the biggest ones, they're just the ones overall that mattered the most. Both Tfue and Cloakzy played in 12 tournaments during these two events. In 4 of these tournaments, they were teamed up together, and in the other 8, they played separately. We will take into account all 12 tournaments. We'll go ahead and break down the summer skirmish first, and then we'll move on to the fall skirmish. Starting off with week 1 of the summer skirmish. This week was an interesting one. Neither Tfue or Cloakzy got invited by Epic Games, but then they were invited by popular streamers to be their partners. Kitty Plays selected Tfue, they finished in 5th place overall and earned Tfue $10,000. Cloakzy was selected by High Distortion, and they finished in 9th place, earning Cloakzy $4,375. The second week of the summer skirmish was the first serious solos tournament. Both Cloakzy and Tfue were invited. Tfue finished in 16th place, earning $6,000, while Cloakzy had a better showing, finishing 2nd overall for a prize of $48,000. In week 3 of the summer skirmish, Tfue and Cloakzy both teamed up for a duos tournament. This one didn't go very well for them. They both finished outside of the money in 22nd place. In week 4 of the summer skirmish, we saw the biggest prize pool at the time, which was $500,000. Tfue was invited. He placed 7th and raked in $27,000. Unfortunately, Cloakzy was not invited to this tournament. Moving on to the 5th week of the summer skirmish, Tfue and Cloakzy teamed back up for the second time, placing 5th and earning themselves at $17,100 each. Week 6 of the summer skirmish was also very interesting. It was the first 2-day event with 2 separate duo tournaments called Twitch Rivals. Once again, Tfue and Cloakzy were teamed up with different players. Tfue was placed with another FaZe member, Yellow, where they placed 2nd in day 1 and 28th in day 2 for a total of $7,925 each. Cloakzy was placed with Ninja. They got 14th place in day 1 and then 5th in day 2, taking home $10,150 each. The week 7 skirmish was definitely the smallest tournament of the summer. Tfue was not invited, and Cloakzy placed 12th for a prize of $975. So that's it for the summer skirmish. Both players participated in 7 tournaments. Tfue had an average placement of 12.14 and won $68,025, while Cloakzy had an average placement of 9.13 and earned a total of $80,600. This does not include the random bonuses. Overall, both players played really well during the summer skirmish, but at the end of the day, Cloakzy did statistically have the better placements and earned the most money. So in the summer, we have to give the edge over to Cloakzy. So that wraps up the summer skirmish. Let's now move on to the fall skirmish event. Neither Tfue or Cloakzy participated in the very first week, but both did compete in the second week, which was a solos event, and this is also where Tfue began his reign of dominance. Tfue blew by the competition, placing 1st and taking home $37,500 in the second week. Cloakzy was just unable to match the firepower that Tfue brought in this week, and he struggled, placing 34th overall and earning $0, taking home a big fat L. Moving on to week 3, Cloakzy redeemed himself a little bit in the duos tournament, placing 8th overall, earning $5,000, while Tfue kind of struggled in this one, placing 26th and taking home $0. In week 4, we saw the return of the $250,000 solos tournament, the second of this fall skirmish event. In week 4, we saw the second $250,000 solos tournament in the fall skirmish, and as mentioned previously, this is where Tfue had his incredible run on. He took home first place again and added another $37,500 to his bank account. And while Tfue was dominating, Cloakzy once again had another underwhelming performance, this time placing 39th overall and taking home $0. Moving on to week 5, Tfue and Cloakzy teamed up again for a duos tournament. They didn't do so well, they placed 18th overall and took home $0. And then moving on to the last and final week of the fall skirmish, we had week 6, which was a LAN held at TwitchCon and would be the biggest prize pool Fortnite has ever seen to date. Nearly $1.5 million was on the line, and the FaZe boys dominated, taking home first place and $200,000 each. With a stellar performance like this, neither Tfue or Cloakzy could be denied their greatness. We'll get more in depth about this tournament later on in the video, but now let's move on and tally up the total earnings and placements in the fall skirmish event. During this event, both players competed in 5 tournaments. Tfue had an average placement of 9.4 and won a total of $275,000, while Cloakzy had an average placement of 20 and took home $205,000. Tfue absolutely dominated the fall skirmish, specifically the solo tournaments, overall taking home 3 first places. Definitely one of the best runs ever, and because of Tfue's amazing performance, we have to give him the edge in the fall skirmish. So that pretty much ties us up 1-1. Let's look at it overall now. Tfue played out of his mind in the fall skirmish, but we can't forget about Cloakzy's summer performance either though. In 7 matches, he was still able to have the best average during an event out of the 2, narrowly edging out Tfue's 9.4 average in the fall with a 9.1 in summer. Although Cloakzy had the best average placement, he also had the worst average placement in fall with 20. He really underperformed in the week 2 and week 4 solo tournaments where Tfue destroyed. Because of these 2 reasons, I have to narrowly, barely give the edge to Tfue in the statistical category overall. Now Tfue might come out on top for now, but be sure to stay tuned for the rest of the video because at the end I am going to explain why Tfue knows Cloakzy is better than him. Alright, I've thrown a lot of numbers at you guys and I'm sure it's been hard keeping up, but it's time to move on now to the fundamentals. And I just want you guys to remember that these are really hard to judge and they can vary on person to person because it's purely opinionated. While both Tfue and Cloakzy are evenly matched in every category of aiming, building, awareness, decision making, and clutchness, I do have certain areas where I think one is better than the other. Again, remember, this is just my opinion and I'd love to hear your guys' down below in the comments. Let's now start off with the mechanical skills, where I do think Tfue does have the advantage in aiming and building. Honestly, it's very close when it comes to building and aiming, and on certain days, Cloakzy does outperform Tfue in these categories, but I do feel from the hours of tournaments I've watched from them, Tfue does pull off the crazier shots and faster building more consistently than Cloakzy. I think aiming is a little bit more easier to say yes, Tfue is better at it, but when it comes to building, this one's really tough because Cloakzy is also a great builder, and I think he is more methodical with it, but at the end of the day, Tfue might not be as methodical as him, but he is extremely fast and consistent, so I just have to give building over to Tfue. Now in the next categories, we're talking more about understanding of the game with decision making and awareness, and unlike the mechanics, I am very confident in giving these over to Cloakzy. Throughout his career, Cloakzy has consistently been one of the smartest players in the entire game. It seems like he can always find himself out of a tough situation by reading the game and making the most optimal decision in the matter of split seconds. And this would be impossible if he didn't have such a high level of awareness. Cloakzy's mind works like almost no one else's in the game. He processes information extremely quick, allowing him to react to situations without hesitation. And when you're talking about hesitation, this is actually one of the biggest faults of many pro players, including Tfue. He has struggled with hesitation. Of course though, Tfue still does possess some of the same skills Cloakzy does when it comes to game sense, but I feel for Cloakzy it's just second nature. He processes the information without even thinking about it, and then he makes the decision instantly. And for that reason, I have to give understanding of the game, decision making, and awareness over to Cloakzy. Now up to this point, you guys might be disagreeing with me, which is fine. As I said earlier in this video, it's all based off opinions and what you see with your own eyes and what your brain processes. My brain processes this perspective, but I would love to hear what your guys' perspective is, so leave it down in the comments. But let's move on now to the next topic, which is clutchness. And with clutchness, I want to try to go in depth because Tfue and Cloakzy are both extremely clutch. As time has gone by, we have seen some great players and duos in Fortnite. To name a few, we have players from teams like Liquid, Ghost Gaming, and others. But at the end of the day, all these guys have been outclassed by Tfue and Cloakzy in the biggest moments in games. We already mentioned Tfue's crazy solos run in week 2 and week 4 of the fall skirmish, pocketing him $75,000 and back-to-back solo wins. games. This was indeed incredible from Tfue, but for me, what stands out as the most clutch performance in Fortnite history has to come from Cloakzy in the biggest tournament Fortnite has ever hosted. This was the big one, the first ever major LAN with every top duo invited, and of course, $1.5 million on the line. And I just honestly have to jump straight in and show you guys this stat, because it is the most absurd thing I have ever seen. Tfue and Cloakzy took home $510,000 total from this tournament, including their bonus for most kills at 28. Man, 28 kills, that's a lot for 6 games, especially when it's including the best duos in the entire game. That's 4.6 kills per game. That's pretty good, right? But it's not the crazy stat I want to talk about. Guess how many kills Cloakzy had out of those 28? Cloakzy had 22 kills of the total 28 kills that him and Tfue had. That means Tfue had a total of 6 and averaged 1 per game the entire tournament, while Cloakzy nearly averaged 4 per game. Just knowing this stat alone, you might think, okay, that's pretty good, but I bet Tfue was there helping him get a lot of those kills, and Cloakzy just got a lot of the last hits, right? No, you are so off. 13 of Cloakzy's 22 eliminations came when Tfue was dead. Let's go ahead and go over the games real quick where Tfue did die early and Cloakzy carried. In game 1, Tfue died when there were 63 players remaining. At this point, they had 0 kills. Cloakzy all by himself went on to get 6 kills total alone and reached top 2 players alive. Wasn't just the top duos, he was the second person alive, and he only lost to a healing play. There was a good chance if that guy would have fought Cloakzy, he would have died because he was on a rampage. That alone is crazy. Cloakzy completely carried game 1 and put him and Tfue in the first place position. If he would have died early on like Tfue did, they would have lost. Let's take a look at another game. In game 3, Cloakzy was stuck in a 1v1 situation to win the game, down a huge amounts of health and in the storm, as you guys can see on the clip right now. He ended up winning this 1v1 and picked up the win for him and Tfue. Moving on to the next crazy situation. In game 5, Tfue died with 56 players remaining, and Cloakzy went on by himself again to pick up 6 kills and also to make it to the top 6 players alive. Absolutely crazy performance out of this world. And you guys want to know another insane stat? It's that no other duo in this entire tournament in 6 games got more than 22 kills combined. Let me just repeat that so you guys can process it. Cloakzy literally had more kills solo than any duo in this tournament combined. Let me throw another crazy stat at you. So while Tfue was dead and Cloakzy was all by himself, he picked up a total of 13 kills in this tournament. Guess what? That is more than 38 of the 49 duos that played in this tournament. That's just nuts. More kills than 38 of the duos in this tournament combined, while his teammate Tfue was dead. Cloakzy nearly single-handedly won the biggest tournament in Fortnite history by himself. With the entire crowd at the end chanting MVP to Cloakzy, it is hard to forget this moment, and in my mind is the most clutch performance we will see in a very, very long time. It's just almost impossible. Think about it. The man went solo against the best duos and players in the entire world and came out on top. What incredible play. Cloakzy truly has that it factor. And this is why I do think that Cloakzy is the best player in the world, better than Tfue, better than anyone else. Of course, it's only my opinion, but this just weighs so much on my decision, and at the end of the day, yes, Tfue and Cloakzy are both great. They're amazing. But in my mind, who shines the brightest in the biggest moment will always come out on top. I'll make a quick NFL analogy, and I'm sure some of you will disagree with this, but for example, Tom Brady, he's great, and he has 5 Super Bowl rings, but Brady has lost a ton in the big moment. 3 Super Bowl losses to be exact. Well, we have Joe Montana on the other hand, who was 4-0 in the Super Bowl. To me, that says more than having 5 rings, even though it's 1 less. He never lost, while Tom Brady lost 3 times. It might not be the best analogy, so let's try one more from the NBA. Let's look at Bill Russell, who dominated in the 60s, winning the NBA championship 11 times, but he's not considered the greatest of all time by many, because most consider Michael Jordan the greatest due to being 6-0 in the finals and always showing up clutch in the big moments. Again, this might not be the best analogy if you don't follow sports, but for some, I think you will understand what I'm saying. Tfue has things he's better at than Cloakzy, and Cloakzy has things he's better at than Tfue. That's what makes them such a good duo. Cloakzy could easily be the best duos player in the world, while Tfue is easily the best solos player in the world. But overall, I have to go with Cloakzy because I think his skill set is more valuable when it comes to the big tournaments. He proved it. So thank you so much for tuning into this video. Please be sure to leave a comment comment down below. Be sure to drop a like on the video. Every single like helps my channel grow, so if you did enjoy my video, if you enjoy my content, hit that like button for me, guys. I greatly appreciate that. And also, of course, please do subscribe if you enjoy my videos and you want to follow my future content. That is going to be it for me though, guys. Thank you for watching. Peace.